The first comment I'd like to make is that, according to our agenda, the hearing on mental health was supposed to last until 16:45, but we finished a little early, so we've taken a short break so that we could wait for all the members of the committee to come along and the Commission representatives. So this brings us on to point 23, petition 0743-2022, a petition from Maria José de Pazo Aladiz, who is Spanish, on the sinking of the Spanish fishing trawler Vila de Pitanxo. I would like to welcome you, first of all, because it's not only you that have come on your own, you're in the company of members of the victims' families, and we'd like to start off by expressing all our support and from the Committee of the Petitions for your loss, so our condolences for the members of your families that have lost their lives. So obviously our Petitions Committee is here to act as a bridge between the citizens and the European institutions, i.e. to ensure that the institutions are close to the citizens and that the citizens can feel this support, this closeness of the institutions. So a very warm welcome to all of you. You have 5 minutes to give us your presentation. We've seen that there are very many of you that have come along for this petition, but you're going to be speaking. So you can speak for 5 minutes, and then we hand the floor to the Commission representative, then the members of the European Parliament, i.e. who are in this committee, and then you'll have a couple more minutes to speak at the end. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Maria José de Pazo. I am the spokesperson of the families of the 21 victims who died as a result of the sinking of the Vila de Pitanxo. And I would like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to come along. Thank you for welcoming us, and thank you for allowing us to have a voice. Thank you also for allowing us to speak and for us to feel that we are being listened to. It may appear fairly simple at first sight, but for us in our day-to-day dealings, it's not at all that simple, and this is what we've felt over the past 8 months. So thank you very much, and I'm now going to very briefly give you a presentation on why it is that we're here, the background to us coming along to your committee on the basis of 5 points. First of all, perhaps I can say something about how the Vila Pitanxo sank, or what we know. The Vila de Pitanxo is a Spanish vessel which was fishing in the waters of Newfoundland, which belongs to the Napo region of Canada. It sank on the 15th of February 2022. This sinking of the vessel was noted as one of the most serious in terms of the high number of deaths. 21 people died, and it's the worst fishing disaster of its kind in this century. Amongst the 21 people who died, 12 are still missing, and there were 3 survivors. So over 87% of the crew passed away. The Vila de Pitanxo lost nearly all of its crew. On that fateful day, the weather forecast indicated that there were going to be major storms, and despite of this, the ship's captain decided to continue fishing in a high-risk area, and the other vessels were fishing in safer conditions. Today, there are still very many question marks and very many gaps. Of the 3 survivors of the sinking, there are contradictory versions as to what led to the sinking of the vessel, the actual causes. And this is why we continue to insist that we need to find out the truth. We need this truth in order to be able to have justice, and also to be able to prevent this happening again, this kind of thing happening in the vessels, member states' vessels. All the people who are at sea, regardless of whether they're off the coasts of the European Union, but wherever they are on the seas around the world. These people, the members of the crews, have to have a voice. They have to have some kind of guarantee that if there is a disaster at sea, then the causes don't disappear under the waves. If you take a look at an accident of this magnitude, it cannot just be seen as an accident at the workplace, an occupational accident. We have all sorts of different types of technology. We've got robots. You can send rockets to the moon, but when it comes to seafarers, we're dealt with as if we were back in the 1900s, as if this were an act of God, and it wasn't at all. I've just been told, oh, well, could we move on to the next slide?
Estamos aquí, esto es lo que...
Well, this is, perhaps we can move on to the next slide. The reason we've come before your committee is because the government in Spain has refused everything, even the dignity for our loved ones who've passed away. And a country can be judged on how it deals, how it treats its dead citizens. We don't want just empty gestures. We want a proper investigation, a fair investigation, which is based on fact and which is carried out swiftly. And we've waited for 8 months with a totally ineffective government that hasn't done anything at all. And the families, with a lot of effort and a lot of suffering, have been asking for things to be done. So we are extremely grateful to this committee because you are the only ones that have listened to us. And we do very much hope that we can have an investigation that's opened up. I don't know how to address you, but honourable members, I address myself to you, and we would ask me, speaking on behalf of the 21 members of the crew who died, what we're asking for is justice. And we want the outcome of all of this to be positive and beneficial to everybody who's at sea. Today, there are mothers speaking to their children who are orphans, who don't have memories of their children. We've got fathers here who've lost their children, their sons, and we want to be able to tell the children of these families tomorrow that the ladies and gentlemen here in this committee who are going to decide to open or to close the petition, they're the ones who decided that their parents, their fathers, their brothers, their friends, their sons were dealt with in a fair way, because the seafarers are not third category citizens. What we want is justice. I know that there is somebody here who is an expert in marine safety, and I'd like to refer to the Directive 2009/18, and this has been transposed into Spanish legislation, and this has been, as I said, transposed into Spanish legislation through a royal decree. I shan't say anything about this specific directive. It's well known to all of you, but I think what is clear is that the Spanish government has not honoured this legislation. It has not opened up an investigation to date. So if we could move on to the next slide, what we're asking for is reliable information from the Spanish authorities. We want to be able to go down to see the boat, the wreck of the vessel, and so we want the Spanish government to do what it should be doing so that once and for all it does comply with the law. So by way of a summary, the families of the dead members of crew, the widows, the grandchildren, the children, the friends, those who are still going to be born, because there are children who are going to be born, they need justice. So if we could move on to the next slide. Society has always shown its support, and we want to be able to trust in the European institutions, that we do, and we would very much hope that you address the Spanish government so that we can have a swift response and an effective response. The greatness of a country, as I have already said, can be seen in how it deals with its dead citizens. And we have 21, and I very much hope you can honour these 21 citizens, because our government hasn't. Yes, thank you very much. Perhaps I can hand the floor to Mr. Fortini from the Commission, who's the head of unit for safety at sea.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like on my turn to start by expressing our deepest condolences to the families and friends of the fishermen who have lost their lives in this tragic accident. And I would like to reassure you that we in the European Commission, we are firmly committed in improving fishing vessel safety. And for that, we are working hard with the member states in order to save lives. So my name is Fotini Ioannidou. I'm head of Unit Maritime Safety in the Directorate General for Mobility and Transport and Deputy Director for Waterborne Transport. I'd like to start by explaining a little bit the context in which EU legislation works. So, as you know, there is, shipping is an international sector, and so it's been regulated in the context of the International Maritime Organization. In terms of the EU framework, what we are doing very often is we are incorporating the international rules in the EU framework, sometimes going beyond those. And in fact, by doing this, we make these rules actionable before the Court of Justice, and we ensure their uniform enforcement across the Union. So in this work, we are helped by an agency, the European Maritime Safety Agency, that is based in Lisbon, established 20 years ago in the aftermath of another tragic accident, the Prestige accident. And they are providing several types of support, operational support, IT support, technical assistance training to the maritime administrations. Now, you have already referred to one of the legislations that is crucial for the case we have here, which is the Accident Investigation Directive, Directive 2009-18, and is indeed a directive that is handled in my unit. In fact, this directive incorporates relevant IMO legislation and provides for a system what is called safety investigations. In fact, here, and to make a link with what you have sent in your introductory remarks, these safety investigations are there to understand the causes of an accident and prevent any reoccurrence. But it's important to highlight here that these safety investigations are separate from any criminal investigation. So these are two different things, and the safety investigations do not aim to assign any civil liability. This is the job of a judge. So this directive indeed foresees that all member states have to establish an accident investigation body. And this accident investigation body is obliged in specific cases, like here we have a very serious marine casualty, to do a safety investigation, and is also obliged within 12 months from the loss to have a final report, and in case the time is not enough, to have at least an interim report, and this report is made public. So this means that by February, they should have either a final report or an interim report. And this, as you know, this accident investigation body has been established by Spanish Royal Decree 800 in 2011. We have been in touch, of course, with the Spanish administration because it's part of our job to ensure that member states do follow, respect the EU rules. And what we know in this respect is that first, the Spanish Accident Investigation Body has opened a safety investigation, and it has done so on the 16th of February 2022. The investigation is ongoing. They don't have yet full results. But as I said, they should provide by February a final or an interim report. We know as well that they have contacted a ship dynamics laboratory to simulate the accident in a model basin, and this test is going to take place by mid-November, and we hope that this will provide first indications of what could be the sequence of events and the potential multiple causes. And they are also in the process of contracting an external firm to engage in deep water remote operations to visit the sunken ship. Unfortunately, they have evaluated that the public means available were not able to do this job. So this operation is planned to happen in spring, summer next year. And we hope as well that this can bring additional elements to this tragic accident. I would need also to say that we as European institutions, we are not engaged ourselves in safety investigation, and also the same goes for the European Maritime Safety Agency. This is absolutely the role of member states and the responsibility of the member states, but of course, EMSA can provide operational assistance, and it has done so when requested by the Madrid Search and Rescue Coordination Center. It has provided satellite images to Canada in order to facilitate the search and rescue. Now, we have, as Commission, many initiatives we are working on to improve fishing vessel safety. If there is time later on, I can refer to them, but I'd like to come to the specific point that the petitioners are asking. In particular, they are asking us to investigate whether the Spanish authorities are infringing the EU regulations on transparency. So the Accident Investigation Directive provides that member states shall ensure that reports are not made available for purposes other than the safety investigation, unless the competent authority in that member state determines that there is an overriding public interest in their disclosure. So EU law does not provide an absolute right to access the file. And I would repeat again that safety investigation is one thing, the judicial process is another thing. However, because we have a strong interest, of course, in this file, we have been in contact with the Spanish accident investigation body, and we understand that they have been contacted by the judicial authority in Spain that conducts the inquiry, and it is likely they will be required to provide the final report, but also access to different documents, part of the investigation files. So here there will be a cross-checking between the two processes and two authorities. I'd like to conclude by expressing once again our deepest condolences, our sympathy to the families and friends, and I'd like to assure you that we are going to closely monitor the situation with the Spanish administration, and we will continue to take many initiatives in order to improve the safety of fishing vessels. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the members of the political groups and start off with Mr. Pince, EPP.
Thank you, Chair. And first of all, I would like to express my condolences on behalf of the EPP group to the family members of the victims of this accident. I believe that your petition is a rightful one, not only from a compassionate point of view, but also legally. And it was also clear from the explanations of the European Commission. In this type of investigation, I'm not an expert, but I know that time is essential, because the sea currents change the seabed quickly, so if the investigation has not been done in this season, that would have been ideal. In the next season, it will be more difficult. So it is a missed opportunity for the Spanish authorities, who have the responsibility in this case. They should have realized also in an earlier phase that they need the logistical support, and they should have contracted and asked for the European solidarity for equipment that is needed for deep sea investigation. I believe that Spain has to do more, and probably spring, summer next year, they should really try to start the deep sea investigation, while the European Commission should closely monitor the implementation of the directive and of the regulation. What has been done so far is not enough, and especially not fast enough. I think that the EU regulations in this case exist exactly to enable efficient investigation in the case of maritime accidents. And I only hope that the next year will bring the necessary information, the causes of this accident will be relieved, and will bring the necessary closure for the family of victims, and in the case of the criminal inquiry, also the necessary compensation. And of course, on behalf of the EPP Group, I would like to ask to keep open this petition until we see the final report of the Spanish authorities. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Yes, thank you very much. Nicolas Casares, S&D.
Gracias, Presidenta.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'd like to start off by expressing my consternation, as I've listened that I've felt right from the outset in this case, and my sympathy with the victims. We're not used to this kind of thing. We know it happens, obviously. This has been a terrible accident, and a shipping disaster like this should make us think more about supporting fisheries activities, the people who go out to sea and have to face these enormous difficulties in their daily work in order to provide us with food. And this is their life. But unfortunately, in this particular case, it cost the lives of very many people. So that's the first point I wish to make. I think it's very clear that our committee is not the one that has to determine the causes of the sinking of the vessel. But I think we have to continue to insist that the case be clarified. There is the Standing Committee on Investigation of Accidents, and they're working, as the Commission has pointed out, but so far there is no clear hypothesis which would explain the causes of the accident, and obviously we're going to have to await the final report. I think it is true that we have to distinguish between the investigation of a maritime accident from a judicial investigation, because obviously there are different procedures. But just one point I would like to make to the Commission. I know it's not your Directorate General, but do think about this. What we're trying to do is improve the safety of vessels and the comfort of vessels as well. Because sometimes you see that improving the fleet is there to extend the fleet. We have to make sure, though, that what we're trying to do is improve the conditions of fishing vessels, and this is something we've seen in the area of fisheries quite often. And this is we can't just say that the Spanish government has crossed their arms and not done anything at all. We've heard that this is what the victims have claimed. There was an article in Galician press. Obviously, I haven't had time to confirm this. Apparently, there has been news about a contract for robots, different equipment, to take a look at what's happening on the seabed. Obviously, we have to clarify the causes, and we have to know what happened in this accident so that obviously we can improve the safety at sea for our fishing vessels. So I think on that point it's very clear that my group is going to continue to support this petition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'll give the floor to Adrian Vasquez from the Renew Group. Thank you, Chair. Well, I'd like to echo what the Commission, the different colleagues have said. I know that it's not very helpful, but I'd like to express my deepest condolences. This is a tremendous tragedy. Before we begin to discuss what was done and what wasn't done, I think that what we all want here is to find out what happened. That's the very least that we can ask for, and so we're going to support this petition remaining open, because it is a petition. If any of our petitions must remain open, it's this one. And we must do everything possible for there to be no further tragedies like this one. Beyond what the Commission representative has said, we need to protect all of those who go out to sea. And what this accident has done is show us how many things can still be improved. We need to improve circumstances and safety for seafaring people, and this has to happen as quickly as possible, because of course there are other important things that we need to work, but we cannot leave this by the wayside any longer. And so I would like to insist that this group maintain this petition open, and that we get clarity on what took place as quickly as possible. Thank you very much. Now I'll give the floor to Ana Miranda from the Greens. There are two of us. I am from the European Alliance, and we would like to express to all of the Galician, Peruvian, and Canadian families who are here. Very often you may have found that there was nowhere for you to go, and that's why you're here. And in this committee, we've dealt with other significant accidents in the history of the state. We dealt with this many times in the past. The Valencia Metro accident is one example. In Spain, generally doesn't resolve this type of investigation well. We've seen it many times. The Prestige incident that was mentioned by the Commission representative still hasn't been resolved for the most part. The Alvia case is still open. But what I would like to express is our solidarity, our support, our pain. We suffer alongside the families, and as we saw in the streets of Marine, there's solidarity here, and it's unfortunate that families have had to face so many obstacles for social aid, obstacles for the minimal amount of safety equipment on vessels, people working. There was one family member who had to continue working with a broken finger, and this is something that continues to exist in many fishing companies. The expectation that people continue to go out to sea without the minimal life-saving mechanisms and equipment. We're in the 21st century. How is it that it's impossible for us to have an immediate investigation with a robot? Now there's a robot investigation, and so it's ridiculous. Why? Because with the technology that we have today, the investigation should have begun immediately. We're in the 21st century, not in the 19th century. We mentioned the Titanic many times. How is it possible that the Ministry of Transport has been carrying out consultation for the past 8 months? It's very sad for us to see, and we're very concerned about the issue of social assistance, the fact that that the door was shut to people asking for time off work, the fact that their status was not recognized as a spouse of these people, and they don't have any allowances. As Rosalia de Castro was mentioning, the Commission has said that this is shared competency with the IMO. Sure, but the problem is that there are responses that the victims are asking for that we, as policymakers, need to provide. We love to talk about ideology, but in our group, we would like to demand that the petition remain open. The Permanent Committee for Research on Maritime Accidents says that fishing expeditions can lead to contrasting information, and if we don't have further information on the details of the vessel. But this is something that they're saying almost 9 months after the shipwreck, and this doesn't seem respectful to the victims. We want to know what happened. We said it before. If this had happened to us, we would be saying it as well, because first come the victims and then the political parties. Thank you. I'm going to give the floor to Sierra Rego from the left.
Bueno, al igual que el resto de compañeros y compañeras que me han...
Like those who spoke before me, of course, I would like to share from the United Left our deepest condolences to the family members of the victims, all of our affection, all of our support. Undoubtedly, and many have said this before, this is one of the biggest tragedies in the sector of the past decade, and this is why we would like to echo the request that this be dealt with in our committee, among other reasons, because of the severity of its consequences and the impact that it has had on the families of victims, and because of our defense for the rights, humanitarian rights of seafaring people who suffer some of the most deadly conditions at the moment. We also demand that investigations be carried out on the vessels upon which hundreds of seafaring folk fish every day. We would like to echo the request that the petition, of course, remain open and that it be shared with the EMPL committee for its assessment as well. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'll give the floor to Paco Millán from the EPP.
Gracias, Presidenta. Antes de nada...
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like to express my condolences to the petitioner and the other family members. We've all been moved by this tragedy, and the family members of the victims are supported here in the European Parliament. I'm from Galicia, and of course I feel very close to this issue, and I understand that you have the support, not just of Spain, but of all of the European institutions. I would like to thank the Commission representative for having confirmed to us that union rights demand an investigation into this accident. And according to your words, well, I think that it's good news to hear that Spain is planning some sort of operation to go in spring or in summer 2023. I don't know if the translation of that was correct, but based on what I've understood, this is good news. As the petitioner correctly said, there are many things that we still don't know, so we need to get more information on the circumstances of the shipwreck so that we can move forward on the processes that have been open and avoid these accidents being repeated. And we also need to do everything possible to recover the bodies of those who passed away. It's a matter of law, but also a matter of humanity. And what would have been ideal would have been for us to already have gone in summer to recover the bodies when the weather conditions were better. This is what the families wanted, but unfortunately, this didn't take place. A great deal of time has been lost, and I'd like to reiterate the fact that it is good news that the Spanish government is finally complying with the requests of the families, but unfortunately, it is it's hard to see that we've not been able to send a robot out over these past 8 months. Sending a robot out is something that could have been done before, and of course, there have been offers to cover certain elements, some of the costs of this, so I'm not really sure why none of the proposals and the offers for sending robots and equipment were accepted by the Spanish government. So I'd like to ask, well, it seems like the government, like you've been in touch with the Spanish government, so Commission, could you tell us why they've delayed the efforts to do this search in past months, and what has led to the change in position? And also, I would like to echo what the other political groups have said in terms of their support for the families of victims. This is a humanitarian cause that we all share, and I'm very happy that we're all unanimous in saying this. But here, what matters is not what we say in the Petitions Committee, it's what happens with the government in Madrid. And therefore, Madam Chair, when it comes to the next steps of this Petitions Committee, I would like to encourage you, first of all, to maintain this petition open, as everyone else has said, as Mr. Vinci, the PP spokesperson, said, and for the European Commission to follow up the steps taken by Spanish authorities and keep us abreast of what is taking place. I would also ask you, Madam Chair, to share with the Fisheries Committee, because this is a fishing activity, so this petition should be shared with the Fisheries Committee so that this Parliament's Fisheries Committee, of course, can give its opinion on this issue to the Commission as provided for in our regulatory documents. We should also send a document to the Spanish government to request, to support the request of the families of the victims in a decisive manner. I think that we can ask for all possible information on the investigation that has been carried out thus far. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll give the floor to the Commission now to respond to the MEP. I have a question as well for the Commission. You said to us that based on the directive, each member state or the member state has 1 year to give a definitive or provisional report. This year will end in February, but you said that the different services that are required to do the exploration will be hired in summer. So how will that information that will be gathered after the year elapses be included in the report? So I would like to get some legal information where that is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start by reiterating the fact that we do believe there are a lot of things still to be done to improve safety for fishing vessels. And in that respect, we are in the Commission taking many initiatives. We are pushing for the ratification of the Cape Town Agreement, which provides for stricter safety standards. We have a legislation upcoming in the next months, which is going to, for instance, introduce systems for inspections for fishing vessels at the ports, at the European ports. On the accident investigation, we are going to extend its scope to smaller fishing vessels below 15 meters, and we are going to enable our European agency, EMSA, to have a more active role in accident investigation, so in support of member states, of course, at the request of member states. So all this just to tell you that we do realize that more things need to be done in this sector. Now coming to the specific accident, here, well, there have been many questions. Of course, we, as you all, want to know what happened. To reply to your question, Madam Chair, the fact that the robot is going to go either in spring or summer means by default that probably in February we are going to have only an interim report for safety investigation that will be completed then once the robot is down and we have the evidence from there. Yeah, and to reply to another question about the potential offers that the Spanish government has not accepted, we are not aware of these offers, so it's difficult for us to comment. We don't know what these offers were, and so we don't know what happened there. I would like to conclude by saying that me and my colleagues will be available to talk to the families after, if we can be of any help so that we can exchange. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, to conclude, I will give the petitioners the floor once again. So, the spokesperson, the spokeswoman of all of the victims, you have the floor.
Buenas tardes de nuevo.
Good afternoon again. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for your unanimous decision. I'm very proud to leave today with your support for today and for the future. Leaving this investigation open is the right thing to do. And just to be brief, I will like to continue to have a conversation with the representative of the Security Council. And I say this with great sadness. All of us who are here, the 17 families present and those who couldn't attend, we suffered this. I'm sorry to say this as a Spanish citizen, a country that has a great deal of responsibility with such a long coastline, so many vessels, such a large fleet. It's so sad to see this attitude of the government towards persons, to see the lax attitude, the inefficiency, and the family, and they weren't willing to act until families came to Brussels. And it's very sad because every member state should act like a grown-up where this is concerned. We are Europe. I don't want to name names because it's not fair to other countries, but we are all seafaring people. We're very proud of the sea, but we need to be proud of the fact that our representatives fight for the sea and respect our need for safety. I would also like to say that we here understand the difference between a technical path and a legal one. We understand this, of course, but the technical actions took place began 7 months later. On the 7th of September this year, there was a publication of a request to find out the cause. This is since the 15th of February. Only on the 7th of September was this action taken. It was treated like a normal shipwreck. No shipwreck is normal. Of course, they are all significant, but this one has a tremendous magnitude, and it should be treated as such. It's an extraordinary case. That's how it was classified, and it cannot be treated like a minor issue. That's how it was treated until we came here and sought the support of this committee. And I repeat it today. Thank you. We are going to keep working. Thank you for your help. Thank you for giving dignity to the 21 families. Thank you for ensuring our safety. Thank you on behalf of all of the children who deserve respect. Thank you for, on behalf of all of the fisher folk looking at you today. They know that if something happens to them tomorrow, well, they'll feel abandoned, and that has to change. Today is the beginning of that change. Today, with this unanimous decision, you've done something very important, because this decision, your actions today, will have a weight. They will have an impact. Today is the first step, but we need to continue. We need to work together. Our collaboration is total and absolute. We want justice. We want safety. You know why? Because that is the comfort. Nobody's ever going to give us back our 21 loved ones, but at least we will be relieved to know that they died for a reason. They died to make sure that this would never happen again, and this is why you have to work with us, because on our own as families we can't do this. We count on you, so please, please continue to work towards our dignity. That's what we have to do. I would like to ask the Commission, please follow this up with the Spanish government, because they have not followed any kind of timeline. They lost valuable, extremely valuable months, and only when we came here were they willing to own up to the fact that they didn't do anything. We can't change that, but please keep working, because that's what's going to make them work. Thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts as all family members of the deceased. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. La verdad es que estoy emocionada.
Thank you. Honestly, this has really moved me, and I want to say something. I'm proud to be part of this petitions committee because of this type of petition, because of the unanimity that we've managed to garner. Because we can fight for those children, for those family members, for all fisherfolk in Europe. So after having listened to you and heard the Commission, and I would like to thank you, Commission, for the clear responses that you give. We don't always get such clear responses in this Petitions Committee, so I would like to thank you for the clarity of those responses. And the other parliamentary groups, as the chair of this committee, I would like to thank you for your unanimity, because these are European citizens, fisherfolk, ocean workers, and every one of the families here deserve that. Thank you. And we will maintain this petition open, of course. We want a written response from the European Commission. We haven't had one of those yet, so this is why we're asking for that. We're going to request that Spanish authorities, we're going to share with them the unanimous decision of the Petitions Committee so that they're aware of what we have called for unanimously, the Commission, as well as the petitioners and all of the parliamentary groups in this House. We're going to share this with the Spanish authorities so that they can provide an answer to us. We will also request that the Commission, and the Commission itself said that it would remain close, and it would follow closely the implementation of the EU directive. And so we're going to ask them to convey all of the information as it comes when it comes to the administrative investigation to be carried out by the European Union. And so when we have the interim report, when we have the visit to the wreckage, we can find out more about it here in the Petitions Committee. And then two MEPs asked for opinions from Fisheries and the Ample Committee, and so we're going to ask for opinion reports from those two committees. So please rest assured that we will continue working for safety at sea for all of those who work at sea, so that this will never happen again. We cannot give you back your family members, but we hope that no such thing will ever occur again, and that we will not lose people that we love at sea. Thank you. Thank you for being here among us today, and we will hope not to disappoint you, give you justice, and give you the dignity that you have asked for. Thank you.